Good evening. It's October 21st, 2025, and it's just a little bit after 6:30, and you're at the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors meeting. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Mike Gunnarsson of the City Ministry Network.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the opportunity to pray. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for a beautiful day here in Stanislaus County. Thank you for our community and the opportunity to be here this evening and participate in this form of government. Thank you for your many blessings. I pray that those who live here in our community who are broken, addicted, and living without hope, those who have lost jobs and are personally struggling with their health, I pray that they would find joy and hope and health and provision and a deep sense of community and fulfillment in their lives. I ask that the broken parts of our community would find restoration. I pray that families would thrive, businesses would prosper, our schools would flourish, that farms would richly produce, and neighborhoods would experience peace and healthy relationships. May this truly be a great community to grow up in and grow old in for every citizen. I pray for these elected officials who are here this evening. I pray that you would bless their families and businesses, friendships, and health. May each of them come to know your love for them fully. Be with them today as they address the issues before them. Give them discernment and wisdom and boldness to serve our city well. I pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you for that prayer. Next up on the agenda is a presentation, Stanislaus County Office of Education Countywide Initiative, Stanislaus Rewired and Inspired. Superintendent Scott Kuykendall.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited actually to see all the audience members because I want as many folks to hear this message as possible. The Stanislaus County Office of Education has a history of initiatives. Our latest initiative was a 2-year initiative called Everyday Counts, and that obviously was focused on getting more students to school more regularly, obviously because we know that when they're in school, that's truly when the learning can happen. This year we're taking a little different focus, and we're really talking about the harms of, well, quite frankly, too much screen time, smartphones, and social media. So up on the dais, each member has a copy of the book called The Anxious Generation. Chairman, can you hold your book up for the audience, please? So, The Anxious Generation is a fantastic book, and I encourage all parents, grandparents, if you have young people in your life that you love and care about, I think that this is an extremely important read because what it does is it puts words and facts and data to what we've been feeling for a long time about what is going on with our young people and even what is going on with ourselves and our addiction, seemingly, to our smartphones. That's my grandson, Noah. I just threw him in here. Shameless plug, but we're also talking about this next generation and what technology, positive or negative, will be having on those children that are growing up. I want to talk a little bit about the years between 2010 and 2015 because what we saw something across the globe happen was we saw an unprecedented increase in anxiety, depression, self-harm, and suicide. We saw it for both our boys and girls, but as you will see here momentarily, it was much worse for girls. And this is something, again, that happened globally. I'm going to skip a couple of these just for time's sake, but I want to jump right into some data. So depression among teens, this is in the US. So this is the rise in depression. You see boys and you see girls. And you see the years 2010 to 2015. That is that gray bar in the middle, and you see an increase in depression. That same time frame, These are emergency department visits for non-fatal self-harm. This is young people between the ages of 10 and 14. And you see the dramatic increase going on there. What was happening in technology between the years 2010 and 2015? This was the adoption of social media. This was Facebook and this was Instagram. And later on, you see that really sharp curve, especially for girls. We've got Snapchat, we have TikTok now. Emergency department visits, this is just focusing on girls, and you look at the age ranges. Our highest percentage jump between the ages of 15 and 19, followed by 10 and 14, and followed ultimately by the ages of 20 to 24. These are basically all of our girls from 5th grade through college. Suicide rates. Now, while they rose for both boys and girls, the increase for girls, which was much more dramatic. Unfortunately, boys are more efficient at this because typically they're more comfortable with firearms, but just to see the increase in overall suicide rates, and again, 10 to 14. These are kids. Let's go to Canada, because I mentioned this wasn't just something that we saw here in the United States. An increase 138% in girls ages 13 to 17 and a 75% in boys. That's Canada. Let's go to the UK, where we see basically the same thing. And then down under, let's go to Australia, where we see very similar data. This is overnight mental health hospitalizations. So we know that the data is rather damning, and this is hard to see because the print is so small. But basically what we see here is from the year 2003, this is the suicide percent change. From 2003 to 2021, the highest jump, females ages 10 to 19, followed by girls in their 20s, and then women in their 30s. What we want to talk about, and primarily what I want to do, is get in front of parents and different groups that think that they would want to learn more about what is happening. But really what most of us here, those of us born before 1990, experienced a play-based childhood. What we recognize now is many of our young people, many of our children are experiencing a phone-based childhood. And we've recognized the fact that these devices are stealing our children's childhood. This is what high school campuses look like many times now. Not necessarily what I experienced many, many moons ago when I was in high school. But I do want to say that there is hope, and there are things that are happening on the ground right now. There has been a piece of recent legislation. All school districts by June 30th of 2026 need to pass and have in place a policy that reduces access for students and their devices during the school day. And that's a step in the right direction. But we need parents also on board, because students are with us between 6 and 8 hours a day. There's all of that other time that we need to focus on. So what can parents do? Well, some of this seems common sense to some of us with white beards, but practice letting your kids out of sight. This was something common in the 70s and 80s and even in the 90s, but parents actually have a very difficult time right now allowing their kids out of their sight. It gives them, they get anxiety when they're doing that. So practicing, maybe letting your kids walk to school. It's a relatively new phenomena, probably the last 10 or 15 years, that every student is kind of dropped off right in front of the school by their parent, typically with a highly caffeinated and sugary drink from local coffee company. But if you can even do that as a first step, just, hey, I'm going to drop you off a block away, and maybe I can do 2. or if you live in a community where you feel comfortable enough and there are other children there your child's age, and you've developed some rapport with your neighbors, and then allowing your students just to walk to school. Giving our kids more opportunity for choice, just for after school and free play. So much of our after school time now, our sports, our kids, quite frankly, don't have an opportunity to navigate conflict in any way, shape, or form. If you think about how our students participate in sports nowadays, everything is organized. There's always a referee. There are always parent volunteers. If it's on the playground, there is always yard duty staff. We have taken away the opportunity for children to navigate conversations, arguments, conflicts at a low level. And I think this is why we're seeing it bubble up where people's feelings tend to get hurt very easily. We're just seeing this dynamic kind of change. So we need to think about how do we give kids the opportunity to be independent. And I don't want to go into that one right now. Here's another one. Here's a great one. Any chance that we can get to just be unplugged, okay? So camping is a great thing because we don't have Wi-Fi. And another thing that I'm going to talk about, quite frankly, is 6th grade camp, outdoor education, Foothill Horizons. Many of us are familiar with that. Many of us have been there ourselves or have had our kids go to Foothill Horizons. And these are some of the quotes from kids who've been there. These are 6th graders. I learned that you don't have to be on your phone to have a good time. One thing I learned at camp is I can go without my phone for 4 days. I learned that we can live without our cell phones and that being outside is really good for you. What can schools do? I talked about it a little bit already as far as reducing access that students have to their smartphones. Typically what we're seeing at the elementary and junior high level is students don't have access to them from the time that they get onto campus really until they go home. Now I'm generalizing now, but high school typically students are allowed to have them out during passing periods and lunch, but that is still a big step forward as compared to what we had last year and prior years. Well, what's next? I mean, it's more things like this. It's more opportunities for me to get out into the public, and I'm just making myself available. If there are service groups, I've talked to Seroptimists and Rotary clubs. I'm here today. I've talked to entire school districts as their keynote before the start of the school year. I just think this is a really important message that needs to get out, and what we really want is to focus, quite frankly, on there's some things we really don't have time for though. 4 things, 4 norms. And we really are pushing for no smartphones before high school. Now, I know that for parents, you're like, what are you talking about? So just so that you all know this, there are things referred to as bricks or dumb phones that are talk and text. They even have a camera, but they don't have a browser. They don't have that access to social media that we see is really playing a devastating role in their growing up. Hey, that's a red light.
You can keep going.
Reserving social media until 16. We think that kids probably aren't even mature enough before then. Phone-free schools, and we're already working on that. And again, more independence, free play, and responsibility in the real world. So there's a little QR code for anybody who wants to follow up with our website for more resources or to request a presentation. So thank you all very much. I appreciate the time to be here tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent. Appreciate that. Any questions?
Got no questions for you, but just thank you so much for doing this. I mean, as you point out, the numbers don't lie, the damage and what's happening out there. And like you say, all of us as children didn't have that and survived out there. I love your reference to Sandlot, one of the greatest movies ever made. Encourage everybody to watch that. And just so much appreciate you out there and kind of raising the flag to everybody. So thank you for all you're doing, Scott.
Thank you very much, Derek. Appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is public comment. Public comment is a time for those in attendance to speak on items not already on today's agenda. Please state your name for the record, direct all comments towards the dais. And so it is fair for every speaker, keep comments to the 5-minute time limit. First up is Javier Baines.
Hi, good evening. My name is Javier Baines. I'm a doctor working with VCME, and through VCME, I'm working for Golden Valley at one of their clinics. And I'm sure as you guys have heard over the last few months, well, since April, we've been trying to negotiate a fair contract that helps not only the physicians that are working through VCME for Golden Valley, but also the patients as well. So we've been bringing up our concerns about patients' care and patient safety as well as physician safety to the board of directors at VCME and Golden Valley. However, they haven't been making much headway. So we wanted to come talk to you about some of those concerns that we had today to see if you guys can help assist us and to make you guys aware of what's going on too with physicians that are here in Modesto and Stanislaus County as a whole. So since, as you guys know, we work at Paradise. Paradise got taken over by Golden Valley about 1.5 years ago. Since then, the number of physicians that we have at VCME went from 36 and is now going to be 24. So we've cut them almost by 33%. However, we're expected to maintain the same level of work as 36 people, which can lead to, overworked physicians, unhappy, nobody wants to go to the doctor and then suddenly have to wait longer than they have to just because, there's fewer doctors. I'm actually newer to the program, but I've definitely seen some of these concerns pop up with a lot of the patients that come in. And, one of the major ones is always, why can't I see the same doctor twice? We'd love to see the same patient more than once. And that's actually one of the things that we've asked for in our contract. But, we haven't been able to make headway on that either. And we've also had some concerns about safety because, like I said, we've been cut by 33%, but still asked to do the same job as we did before, which has led to some people being overworked, 24-hour shifts without too much time in between, transitioning from day and night, which has led to some of my colleagues being in accidents, having to call out sick, which means even more patients are suddenly having to be rescheduled and they don't get the care that they want. The type of things we've been asking for in negotiations have been to try to get more physicians into the Valley, because nobody's going to want to come here if they hear all these things I'm telling you. You're going to be overworked. You're going to have to work 24-hour shifts without any breaks. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. And then if there's not physicians coming into the Valley, for the next generation, who's going to provide them health care? And I'm sure everybody is going to need a doctor at some point. You might be the healthiest 24-year-old now, but when you're 60, 70, you're going to need somebody to take care of you. So I know we're asking for contract negotiations that help us now, but that's to set us up for success in the future. So I would implore you guys, and anybody here in attendance, if you can, please reach out to VCME and Golden Valley and tell them that you would wish that they can move forward with these contract negotiations with us and meet us halfway. We're not asking for the moon and we're trying to be unreasonable. We are trying to be as reasonable as possible, but they have not budged and not come and meet us halfway. So that's why we're relying on you guys for support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Samantha Johnson. Samantha Johnson.
Hi, good evening. Samantha Johnson. I'm the executive director at Without Permission. I actually brought some handouts. I don't know if I was supposed to give those to somebody ahead of time, but you can look at them later. We are a anti-sex trafficking nonprofit here in the Central Valley, serving primarily Stanislaus and San Joaquin counties. We've been around for about 13 years, doing a lot of great work, and so I'm just here for informational purposes. I was so happy to hear Superintendent Kuykendall speak about the phone policy going on, because 100% of the work that we do is sex trafficking and sexual exploitation, and a primary driver that we see that come from is online digital sexual exploitation. We just did our last fiscal year stats for the past 12 months, and we've served 235 brand new survivors of sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. 98% of those call Stanislaus County their home. So these are our kids. They play on our soccer teams. They shop at our malls. They go to our schools. We're not talking about a third world country. Like, this is right here in our community. And so we have three main pillars: prevention, justice, and restoration. Obviously, the goal is to prevent this from ever happening to somebody in the first place. So we put a lot of effort and investment into our prevention programming. We have a great relationship with the Office of Education and the county, CPS and child welfare, so we can go into any middle school or high school in our county. It's free to the school, and be able to do our 45-minute prevention curriculum to the students at that target age of vulnerability. We also have great relationship with the Sheriff's Department and Modesto PD, just to be able to kind of be that frontline resource in the event that there is a rescue. Obviously, we don't go bust down doors and rescue kids out of trap houses, but we hope to be that first call that law enforcement would make if there is a rescue, so that we can show up and provide services to those victims. So we put a lot of prevention energy and resources into the prevention category, and then we also have our justice pillar. We train law enforcement. We work with our local district attorney's office just to help. Human trafficking is not a new crime, but a lot of our laws are still playing catch up to kind of how we've seen the crime evolved over the last few years. So if we can educate and partner with law enforcement and our local district attorney's office, then I think we have a better shot at prosecuting to the fullest extent of the law. And then restoration is the other bulk of our services. So walking one-on-one with survivors through that restoration journey, just to be able to be that support and that advocate as they get healthy and healed and whole on their restoration journey. So the bulk of the work that we do is between 13 to 18-year-olds. We do serve, outside of those age ranges, but really we're primarily seeing our youth and teenagers targeted by these traffickers and pimps. So the more that we can get the word out there, we'll pretty much show up anywhere and present to anybody. So if anyone's interested in prevention curriculums or trainings, we're happy to provide that and continue to look for funding sources and support from our community. But we are very grateful for a collaborative effort. We have great relationships with some of our community partners. So thank you for your leadership and investment into the county, and grateful to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Samantha, thank you for being here. Samantha, I had the pleasure of having lunch with Samantha and one of her board members, Jeff Steckler, a while back, and you think this is happening somewhere else, and it's not our problem here, but it is happening here. I mean, the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, it's just slavery. We have slavery in our county. We have slavery in this country still, and I'm so happy that you're here to make people more aware of it, and I hope encourage other people to help you go and present before them and just spread the word of what's going on and figure out ways that we're going to stop this. So Samantha, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, next up is Elaine Wong. Elaine Wong.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Wong, and I'm a doctor who works at Golden Valley Paradise Health Clinic through my employer, the Valley Consortium for Medical Education. We care for some of the most chronically ill and vulnerable patients in Stanislaus County, not dissimilar to the patients that have been talked about in the mental health segment in the prayer. These are all real people that we serve. 2 years ago, Golden Valley took over the operation of the Paradise Clinic where we work. Shortly after, our program began to cut the number of family medicine residents by 1/3. By next July, we will be down from 36 resident doctors to just 24. Since then, resident doctors in my program have often had to work more than 80 hours a week, face 24-hour shifts, and no longer have sufficient time to recover between nights and days. This has led to residents being sleep deprived, and as you heard earlier, some residents have been in accidents themselves, unfortunately. With these problems, med school graduates are choosing to go elsewhere besides Modesto. This past June, our program struggled to fill half of its positions for incoming residents, having to scramble at the last minute to fill these slots. Modesto deserves more doctors, not fewer. That's why myself and other resident doctors have been bargaining for safe scheduling in our union contract. Unfortunately, VCME, of which Golden Valley is a major partner, is not taking our staffing proposal seriously. That's why we're coming to you as the Board of Supervisors. We need your help to tell Golden Valley and VCME that we need a fair contract that proactively addresses these scheduling concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. Next up is Cameron Perez. Cameron Perez.
Good evening, Board. Alrighty. My name is Cameron Perez. I'm a resident doctor working at the Paradise Clinic, run by Golden Valley Health Centers through my employer, VCME, Valley Consortium for Medical Education. I'm here with my colleagues because we have been negotiating since April, like mentioned, for a contract raising our concerns about safe scheduling and patient care in our family medicine program. The program has refused to offer any compromise addressing our concerns, so we're here at the Board of Supervisors to bring our concerns to the public in Stanislaus County. Shortly after Golden Valley took over from for the county and the clinic where we work at, our program, like mentioned, we went down a third of our class members. Since then, with the cuts beginning, our program has changed the way it's scheduling resident doctors, facing 24-hour shifts, often working more than 80 hours a week, and having insufficient time to recover between days and nights. As a physician, I know how sleep deprivation affects performance. Some of our colleagues have gotten into car accidents following long shifts as a result of falling asleep at the wheel. These are not conditions in which patient care should take place. As mentioned, our program has struggled to fill half of its positions, and when it comes to retention in this area in Stanislaus County, that is not a good sign. The positions were eventually filled in a last-second scramble, but the fact that incoming resident doctors do not want to come here is concerning. I got into medicine because I want to help people, and I'm so proud to serve a patient population such as Modesto that is the most in need of care. My colleagues and I have been deeply frustrated to have our concerns about patient care repeatedly ignored. And that's why we're coming here to talk to you as the county supervisors. We know that you guys had great involvement in the county clinic and I know as they were shrinking down, and your guys' voice weighs heavily. So I urge you to talk to VCME in Golden Valley to ask them to offer a fair contract that addresses safe scheduling. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Jody Smith. Jody Smith.
Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jody Smith. I'm a behavioral health specialist. I worked for Stanislaus County for 9 years, and I'm a proud member of my union, SEIU 521. What we are asking for in our contract is not about greed, it's about need. We need help. My coworkers and I are here to urge this board to help us meet the need for mental health, substance abuse, and safety crises we see every day. Too many families are falling through the cracks of our safety nets. We are being stretched too thin. It is estimated that there's approximately 1 county worker to every 492 people needing our services in Stanislaus County. In our profession, we can't afford to let people fall through the cracks. What we're telling members is that we'll get to you when we get to you. This is the last thing we want to tell people in crisis. We cannot place quantity above quality in the services we provide to the people of Stanislaus County. These repercussions impact us in loss of members' trust. When we fail to meet the members and provide services, members lose trust in our ability to fulfill their needs. Damage to our reputation. Word of mouth can spread quickly, damaging Stanislaus' reputation in serving its county members. Decreased productivity. When county workers' needs are not met, employees feel overwhelmed, leading to decreased productivity and morale. Increased turnover. Chronic short staffing and increased caseloads lead to employee burnout, causing them to seek better opportunities elsewhere. Our jobs don't sound attractive under the previous contract. It's not competitive enough with other counties and other employment in our county. Our contract aims to address these critical issues by promoting fair wages, decent working conditions, and recruiting and retaining Stanislaus County employees to assist the needs of the most vulnerable people of Stanislaus County. By agreeing to our contract, we can work together to empower workers, enhance their quality of life, and contribute to sustainable economic growth. But most importantly, ensure that all Stanislaus County workers are treated with dignity and respect. Did you know Our founding fathers only paid senators and representatives a per diem amount when in session. Why? Because the founding fathers knew if Congress were ever to be paid salaries, which they could vote to increase themselves, then Congress or representatives would no longer be of the people, but above the people. They wanted those in Congress and representatives to be subject to the same economic and financial conditions as the rest of the nation based upon the laws passed. You recently passed a vote to increase your salaries 11%. Stanislaus County workers deserve a minimum of 11%, if not more, to be competitive. For together, all our roles are to keep Stan families healthy, safe, and thriving. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Next up is Brian Bolden. Brian Bolden. Next on deck is Carlo Vasquez. No. Yeah. Next on deck, Carlo Vasquez.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to work here in Stanislaus County and to be here tonight to support my coworkers. My name is Brian Boldu. I'm a behavioral health specialist and proud SEIU 521 member. I work primarily at a men's mental health emergency shelter, and I do love doing that. I'm here to advocate for my coworkers' equitable compensation as the cost of living continues to increase, wages stagnated, and inflation is on the rise. My coworkers are highly skilled to teach resiliency to the individuals experiencing homelessness, mental health issues, addiction, associated trauma-related experiences. Many community members who have become homeless have an increased risk of experiencing these co-occurring disorders. We are skilled effectively to address these issues. Staff sees every day what happens when we're understaffed and under-resourced. We have families with kids waiting weeks and struggling while caseworkers juggle double caseloads. Staff are working overtime and double duties from vacant positions just to keep our doors open. An example, real life example. This was yesterday and it is ongoing. My housing support services team has experienced this reality numerous times. Yesterday, being as we are already short-staffed, one of our housing sites needed coverage, and for 3 shifts yesterday, morning, afternoon, and evening, upon being notified of the shortfall, we effectively, as a team, improvised our shifts and successfully pieced together the shift assignments to fill in the gap yesterday. These situations are not sustainable, though they exhibit our dedication to our clients and our community. When we are underinvested in the people who we serve, we send this message to them that our clients and community, that their healing is only worth a temporary fix, such as a Band-Aid for a gaping wound. A fair contract changes that by bringing and keeping dedicated staff that are ready to help our neighbors get back on their feet. Competitive wages are part of it, so are the conditions that make this the best place to work, such as telework, allowing staff to meet clients where they're at. Flexible work schedules allowing staff to balance family and community life while keeping services running strong, and an investment in training allowing county employees to expand their skills by building long-term careers in Stanislaus County. These solutions are smart, and I do agree practical, by leading us to build a stronger workforce, safer communities. So today we're saying loud and clear, it's time for bold leadership and a time to invest in the people who we care for and support our county. Because when workers do well, our communities thrive. Together, we can make sure Stanislaus County stands for opportunity, dignity, and hope for everyone. I invite you to come visit our work sites and experience the impact our services provide. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Carlo?
That's me.
All right.
Hi, Board of Supervisors. Hi, everyone else. My name is Carlo Vasquez. I use he and they pronouns. I am a health education specialist with Health Services Agency in our community wellness team. And let me tell you something, I am tired. I am tired for a number of reasons. I have a whole bunch of stuff going on, right? I had so many things going on that I couldn't even change to my purple shirt to help represent the rest of my union before this meeting today. And part of the reason I have so many things going on is because half my team is gone. Half my team is left for greener pastures as a symptom of the retention issues that we know we have here in the county. And I'm not going to spend any additional time describing all of those retention issues because we've been describing those retention issues to all of you ever since we started negotiating with you all in February. It's been 8 months. And the thing that makes me sad in this case is that ultimately, like I mentioned when I was here last month, like I mentioned in written comments I've given to you, like I've mentioned in visits I've had one-on-one with some of you, we are on the same team and we want the same things. We want to be in a contract, you want to be in a contract, and ultimately there's easy ways for us to do this. There's been a lot of talk, even still today, about that 11% increase that you gave yourselves. Of course, matching the increase that you gave AFSCME of 11% over 8 years. Or excuse me, 8 years, 3 years. And as we left on September 16th, there were some responses that were given, especially from you, Jody Hayes, regarding some of the comments that we made. You said that we have programmed those same wage increases into your long-term financial models. And if anyone has said that the county is unwilling to reach a final agreement under those same terms, that is just factually untrue. And to some extent, I do believe that, because not only have you given that to a large amount of our county staff, those represented by AFSCME, not only have you given 11% to yourselves, there's certain groups that you've given even more. The Stanislaus Sworn Deputies Association, over the same 3-year period that we're discussing, is going to receive a 13% increase. Their contract is even longer than ours. They negotiate every 4 years. Over those 4 years, they're receiving 17%. And so we're over here asking for 15, asking at the very least to be matched, and we're not even receiving that. Where's that willingness to reach a final agreement under those same terms? Why aren't we being extended that also? Like I've mentioned multiple times, we are on the same team, and I think it's about time we start acting like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo. Next up is Milt Triweiler. Milt.
Good evening, Chair, board members, staff, community members. Milt Triweiler. I'm a lifetime Stanislaus County resident. The prime farmland in Stanislaus County is a natural resource that cannot be replaced or mitigated because of its unique nature, its quality soils, its water availability, and its good climate. There's no other farmland like it in this country or on this earth. There is a major shortage of prime farmland and water in the world today. We now know that here in San Joaquin Valley, we will need to remove almost 1 million acres of farmland south of Stanislaus County from production because there's not enough water to irrigate it. Board members, staff, community members, we have many things to be concerned about today. We have to be very careful about who we listen to and what we believe. There are people here in Stanislaus County that are scheming to destroy the future for our children and our descendants. We must be strong and do the right thing and save the farmland in the central part of our county for our children and our descendants. There is an abundance of poor soils and wastelands in California and our nation for the developers to build houses on, like the Altamont Pass area, like the area east of Oakdale. There's also the large landmass area west of Patterson along Interstate 5 and east of Fairfield along Highway 12 all the way to Rio Vista. We also have the entire states of Arizona, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado for the developers to build houses on. In our Stanislaus County cities, we must build up and not out on the city's infill areas. Building on existing infill land is the best option because the city services are already in place. We need to build an abundance of high-rise luxury apartment complexes and high-rise luxury condominiums on our infill areas of our county cities. We also need to build an abundance of high-rise affordable apartment complexes and affordable condominiums for our workers and our employees. We have so much potential of building up and not out here in our Stanislaus County cities and outlying townships. We must never allow the prime farmland north of Modesto, west of Riverbank, southwest of Salida, north of Turlock, and all around Ceres and Houston to be developed. Not in 10 years, not in 20 years, not in 50 years, not ever. Yes, I said not ever. We are educated people and we must be realistic. There's no other farmland like this in the world. The farmland in Stanislaus County is fully economically developed, producing food for our state and our nation. We are adults and parents, and we have an obligation to do what's right and best for our children and descendants. We must all be good stewards. Stanislaus County is the food provider for our state and our nation. We are not a bedroom community for the Bay Area. How could educated and caring people be so cold-hearted and irresponsible to want to destroy the best farmland on earth? You don't get a second chance. Once you turn prime farmland into housing, you create a food desert. The prime farmland in Stanislaus County is a natural resource that cannot be replaced. There's no other farmland better than it on this earth. We must all be committed to saving this irreplaceable farmland for our children and descendants. And it's us adults and parents that have to do the work on this. We're the ones who have to do it. It's our responsibility to take care of our children and our descendants. I realize that not everyone has children, yet you have nieces and nephews, you have cousins. So we all have descendants. And they can't do it, many of them can't do it because they haven't been born yet. You can't care for yourself unless you've been born. So it's us that has to care, that stop this sprawl in Stanislaus County, grow up and not out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mel.
We can do it.
Okay, that was my last public comment card. Anyone in the audience like to make public comment on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Move to consent calendar. Any supervisor like to pull any item on consent?
You know, I think I've got a conflict out. Darn, I'm sorry. Fuck, I didn't realize which one it was. 6. It's T&M Farms. Which one was T&M Farms? Sorry, darn it. B6. I got a conflict out on B6. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Before the board takes action on the consent calendar, does anyone in the audience wish to provide public comment on anything on consent? All right, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion other than B6.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Can you clarify your vote?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Gotcha, unanimous.
Terry threw me off.
Oh.
Motion to approve B6.
All right, motion to approve B6.
Second.
I got a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, 4-0.
I don't oppose. But you don't say it.
All right, moving on to public hearings. Approval to continue the public hearing to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of use permit, PLN 2021-0012 West Main Compost, a request to operate a composting facility on the 23.5 acres of a 47.82 acre parcel in the general agriculture A240 zoning district located at 1236 West Main Street between South Carpenter Road and Crow's Landing Road in the Turlock area, and adoption of a mitigated negative declaration to the November 18, 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting, Planning and Community Development. Emily, Deanna, and Angela.
We'll take this one. Angela Freitas, County's Planning Director. Good evening. This item was originally scheduled for a public hearing on August 5th and was continued to tonight's meeting at the request of the applicant. The applicant is requesting a second continuance to November 18th to allow them to do some further outreach and to address some of the concerns that have been raised. The staff recommendation before you this evening is to approve the continuance, and that would be to November 18th. So we would ask that you open the public hearing and then continue the public hearing. If the board, however, does wish to go forth and continue this item, or to hear this item and not continue it, we are ready to provide a presentation if that is the board's wish.
Any questions? All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. And
I just got one thing. Is that a night meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
okay, first on public comment is Scott Cole.
Well, I'm fine.
Okay. Marcy Cole? Pass. Janine Mendez? Did I say that right? Albert Mendez? Marilyn Silva? I don't, you still got to vote on that. Okay. Any other in the audience like to make comment on this agenda item?
I did, Milt Treeweiler, Stanislaus County resident. I did look at this over, and I was kind of interested in it because the Planning Commission denied this permit, and at the time I wasn't able to drive by it. I'd like to do that, but I didn't get to drive by it. But apparently it's basically open land right now, open farmland. And I'm just wondering how come, or what is the importance of this project in our county? How is this going to help the people of Stanislaus County? And how is this going to help our farmers? What is the purpose of this project? Why do they want to build this or put this in this area? It does, of course, it does mention all the pollution that this will cause. But again, pollution is something we have a hard time with here in our county because we do have a high level of pollution in our county. But I'm just kind of curious as to why this project needs to go there and who's going to benefit from this project. I don't know if you can answer any of those questions, if I need to come back to the next meeting, but if you can answer any of those questions, please do. Thank you.
Go ahead, Angela.
So that is the fundamental question that a use permit asks, is whether or not this is the right use in the right place and whether or not it will have any impacts on the community. I would direct any of those who are interested to read the Planning Commission staff report, which does address the whys in terms of why it can be located at the site where it's located in the agricultural zone, and what the findings are that this board will need to consider when they consider the appeal.
Thank you, Angela. Any others like to make public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the board.
So before I received a call and someone had asked me why we would.
Hold on, I don't think your mic's working. There it is.
Yes, there it is. Why we would extend, and I don't like to say that things are perfunctory, because that's not the case, but anytime that someone wants to try and make their project better, needs more time, we've always extended the offer to the tune of Jerry Camillos out at Crow's Landing for 5 years or so. I wouldn't suggest that, but depending on the size of the project. But I'm okay, again, extending this. They had said they were going to do some environmental work, which would have been helpful, and they had. As far as I know, I haven't seen anything or heard anything. So giving them the extension, I'm okay with giving them the extension, and we'll make sure, because there's obviously some opposition to this, and that I think their concern is that if we don't extend it, then they probably want their opportunity to comment. But I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to, so we had the public hearing, we extended out to November, what was the date?
18th.
18th.
Any other comment? Did I have a second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
I have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous to extend it November 18th.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to discussion items. Approval to amend the salary and position allocation resolution to adjust staffing for the expansion of the Behavioral Health Service Act Planning and Policy Program, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, Ruben Imperial.
Good morning, Chairman Condit, Board of Supervisors, CEO Hayes, and County Council Bose. Ruben Imperial, Behavioral Health Director, here to present an item requesting approval to amend the salary and position allocation resolution to support the expansion of the Behavioral Health Services Act Planning and Policy Program. I'm here with Maribel McCarroll, our BHSA Planning Manager, who is here to help me with this presentation if needed. This presentation will provide context for the request, outline the changes brought on by Proposition 1, and describe how the department will align its staffing to meet these needs for the statewide mandates. As a reminder, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services operates as the county's contracted behavioral health plan with the state of California. And as part of that behavioral health plan, we also administer what's called the Mental Health Services Act. Our department administers the full continuum of behavioral health care, mental health services, substance use treatment services, prevention, early intervention, and the public guardian function. These responsibilities already require extensive coordination, data reporting, and compliance monitoring across multiple funding streams. Today you're going to hear additional requirements brought on by Prop 1. The Mental Health Services Act, also known as Prop 63, when it was passed, was approved by California voters in 2004. It established a 1% tax on personal income over $1 million to provide a dedicated funding source for expanding and transforming the state's public mental health system. Over the past 2 decades, MHSA has played a pivotal role in shaping California's behavioral health system, and here in Stanislaus County, the act shifted the county's behavioral health focuses from crisis-driven response systems to more prevention and early intervention services delivery. The allocations for MHSA were the community services and supports, prevention and early intervention, and innovations. And basically what the act did when it was passed in March of last year was restructure how we allocated those fundings. In March 2024, California voters approved Prop 1, replacing the Mental Health Services Act with the Behavioral Health Services Act. The new act modernizes the behavioral health system statewide and expanding services to include substance use treatment and housing, addressing homelessness, and increasing accountability and transparency. These changes substantively expanded county planning, reporting, and stakeholder engagement responsibilities, which is what brings us here today. I'm not going to go into the Behavioral Health Services Act. I did provide a full briefing to the board on June 10th, 2025, but if there are questions about the act, I can't answer. So this next section highlights the scale of change between MHSA and BHSA under MHSA. County submitted a 3-year plan focused on MHSA-funded programs only. These changes under BHSA now requires that the county produce what's called an integrated plan that aligns all behavioral health funding sources, including BHSA, Medi-Cal, the realignment funds, federal and state grants, local funds, opioid settlement dollars as well. It is a much more comprehensive and data-intensive framework. The new integrated plan is a single unified roadmap that ties together every behavioral health investment the county manages. It replaces multiple disconnected plans and funding streams, requiring stronger coordination between fiscal, program, and community engagement processes. BHSA also formalizes the use of evidence-based and community-defined practice. By July 2026, counties must identify approved practices, and by July 2029, we must demonstrate fidelity to these models. That means greater evaluation and quality assurance responsibilities for our department as well. I will say that there is some timelines that allow counties for flexibilities and implemented evidence-based practice, but I believe with the reporting requirements and the expectations for the department, we are going to be implementing as many evidence-based practices, primarily to ensure that we have a really good shot at meeting the expectations around program performance measures. And so we do have some flexibility here, but we are going to implement as many of them as we can as soon as possible. Another shift with MHSA to BHSA is that it expands the scope beyond mental health services to include substance use treatment, housing supports, homelessness housing, and crisis care. It reflects the state's move towards an integrated system of care, but it also increases the complexity of planning and service delivery. So there are 3 planning and reporting tools that are at the center of BHSA. There is a 3-year integrated plan, which defines community priorities and aligns funding. The Behavioral Health Outcomes and Accountability Transparency Report, introducing new performance metrics and fiscal transparency standards. The annual update, which tracks progress and incorporates stakeholder feedback. Together, these ensure that the county's behavioral health system remains transparent, data-driven, and accountable. An additional change is what's called our community planning responsibilities. The state now requires participation from 26 various stakeholder groups, including youth, culturally diverse communities, consumers, family members, and partners across our system. We have traditionally had these types of conversations and stakeholder groups, but one of the additional requirements of BHSA is we have to have much more documentation on that community planning process. That means our staff must manage multiple stakeholder sessions, analyze that input, and produce detailed public reports, ensuring that our planning is both inclusive and transparent. All of these new mandates, the expanded planning framework, the new data reporting, enhanced stakeholder engagement, significantly increases the workload of our current planning team. To meet the expectations and avoid compliance or reporting risks, we need to build additional capacity in planning, fiscal analysis, and data management. So currently, our Behavioral Health Services Act team, our behavioral health planning team includes a manager 2, an administrative clerk, a staff services analyst, and we currently reassigned a behavioral health advocate to help with the community planning process. To meet the new mandates, we are proposing to add 2 staff services analyst positions and 1 accountant 3. This expansion will strengthen our capabilities to ensure our integrated plan is comprehensive and compliant. We are using additional resources to bring on contracted services for mainly data and technical level analysis related to the planning process, that we don't need those services ongoing or long-term, but we need them for a short time. So we are securing some of these planning resources through contracts as well. The estimated annual cost for the 3 requested position is $358,000, or about $358,417 to be exact. And it is fully funded with the Behavioral Health Services Act Administrative Allowance. To offset these costs, we are deleting 3 long-term vacant positions. Counties are allowed to use up to 5% of BHSA funds for community planning and 2% for accountability reporting, with reimbursement available for costs above these limits. And so the state does allow us to invest up to 7% of our funds. You can see there, just for the administrative planning process, we are allowed up to $1.7 million. We are spending about $1 million on these planning staff, but as I said, we are using these resources to secure other contracted and technical services as well. I also just want to recognize that the state does have funding available beyond this funds. For instance, if we go beyond these dollars for planning, there's other dollars available at the state. The reason why I mention that is because they realize the administrative workload and the planning that is needed now to produce this new integrated plan. And so it's just a sign that points towards the state does realize the amount of resources it's going to take to report on the entirety of the Behavioral Health and Recovery Services budget in the way that we only used to do for the Mental Health Services Act. So this is quite a leap in terms of our reporting capability, and it's the reason why we are here today for these recommendations. And lastly, when it comes to fiscal impact, there is no impact on the general fund. We have one staff recommendation today, and that is to amend the salary and position allocation resolution to reflect the recommended changes outlined in the staffing impact section of this report for the expansion of the Behavioral Health Services Act planning and policy program, effective the first full pay period following the Board of Supervisors approval. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Ruben?
Is an expansion for reporting.
Primarily. And I also want to say it's a good thing. I think what we're doing is a good step forward in terms of behavioral health across the state. And so yes, but it is going to require quite a bit of resources and investment into making sure that we are able to produce these reports effectively.
Yeah, no question, just a comment. I think this is, as you said, Ruben, this is a great thing, I think. It's funny, we had that presentation by Scott earlier tonight, and Scott Kuykendall regarding the issues with our kids and the mental health issues they're starting to develop and the suicide rates and all these things. And I think all of this is just, we're going to get into more evidence-based reporting and results. And I think that's all great, and it's kind of a long time coming. You're doing a great job. Your staff is doing a great job, and just the world has changed, and the environment that we're dealing with now has changed with the individuals and the issues that they're having. And I think this is a perfect time now for us to move forward with these type of, evidence-based practice measures to try to deal with these individuals and get them better. And I'm very proud just of our BHRS and all the work you guys are doing and adjustments you're making to step up and implement this stuff. So thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with my colleague. However, there's one phrase in here that just irritates me. Underserved groups. We serve everybody, right? Everybody that qualifies for the programs, we serve them.
As a behavioral health plan, we are as the behavioral health plan, we serve Medi-Cal beneficiaries, and that is our mandate. We are mandated to serve Medi-Cal beneficiaries that meet criteria for severe mental illness, substance use disorder. In terms of our crisis, yes, you don't have to be a Medi-Cal beneficiary to receive crisis services. Yes, that is the goal of our organization and our department, is to ensure that no matter anyone's socioeconomic situation, in the ways that we can serve folks, we're doing our best to serve everyone and all that we can.
Great. It's not like we're out there picking groups of people not to serve.
No, it's actually the opposite. Most of our mandates are driving us to have plans and data and performance measures that show that we are reaching those individuals that are at times hard to reach, or what we call underserved, that they could be served. And for whatever reasons, at times they are not served well. So this whole act, and a large part of this act is focused on ensuring behavioral health departments have plans and are directing resources to individuals that normally wouldn't be accessing care. Primarily, a lot of this is around those with severe mental illness that are homeless and, so on and so forth. So living homeless on the street, getting involved in the justice system, those types of populations. But overall, that's our goal, is to make sure that everyone is served equally, fairly.
So difficult to serve would probably be good. People that are difficult to serve.
Well, I would say that, when it comes to, our behavioral health system, and there are populations that when it comes to accessing care, and Maribel and I have been out for several weeks now talking to individuals in shelters, individuals on the street, family members. We were all talking to family members last night. And no doubt that, there are certain groups of people that when it comes to accessing care, accessing mental health care, there are certain situations in their life that at times make it difficult for us to provide services or for them to access services. And so, whatever, labels or whatever, how we describe that, I know one thing for sure is that our department is focused on reducing barriers for anyone in our community that is having trouble accessing services. I wish I could sit up here and say, everybody that tries to reach and get services, behavioral health, every time that interaction is 100% and we hit the ball out of the park every time. I do believe that there are areas where we need to improve our performance and we need to do better. And that's what all of this work is about. It's about using data to measure where in each of these situations and groups of people that we're serving, we are monitoring how well we're doing. And that's what this whole act's about.
And thank you, Ruben. Thank you for that explanation. Any other questions or comments? All right, open it up to public comment. Any person in the audience like to make public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. I have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Now, correspondence, we're going to acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Any Board of Supervisor reports? Chance?
Just a quick report tonight. We had a groundbreaking ceremony in the South Modesto community of Park Lawn regarding our ARPA funds. That includes the infrastructure funding of sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and lighting. I just want to give a shout out to our Public Works team, Mr. Lehman, and all of our staff for doing a wonderful job. And it was a beautiful ceremony celebrated by the community.
Vito?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to remind the farmers out there that they have an ag plastics container recycling event October 23rd coming up this Thursday from 8:30 to 3 at Valley Agronomics, which is 624 East Service Road. If you go on my Facebook page, there is a flyer with a QR code. You have to hit the QR code and sign up ahead of time with your containers. They have to be triple rinsed and ag products. I think they'll take 30-gallon drums, but you have to quarter them. But if you need more information, call my office, 209-525-6440.
Terry?
Just real quick, I forgot to say this last week. I got to go out for a ride-along with our probation department. I haven't done this in a long time, and it always breaks my heart. Anyway, I just want to commend our probation department, and I think we had some deputies out there that are taking part in it too, and just some of the households that we went to, and this time there weren't any kids this time, which was great because it's just horrific to see these kids sometimes. But these situations that you walk into, that these individuals that are on probation and the households they're living in and the family members that are there, it just lets you know there's a lot of work to be done out there. And I just, again, commend our probation and our deputies for all the work they're doing out there.
Manny?
Yes, thank you so much, Chair. I had the privilege last week to speak at the Rising Well Women's Empowerment Luncheon, and it was very well attended, over 250 people. They raised about $80,000 to help women suffering from domestic abuse, and then also training programs to get them back into the workforce. There was a men's panel that I was privileged to be a part of, and then there was a women's panel that my wife spoke at, and let's just say I was the second best Gray Wall speaker.
All right. So Saturday, October 25th, we're having a garbage cleanup day out in Knights Ferry area. It's going to be first come, first serve, so once the bins are full, then they're full. They'll be taken away, and that's in partnership with East Stanislaus Fire Safe Council, Stanislaus County, and the Army Corps of Engineers. And then also today, I took a ride with our Public Works Director. He's been a busy guy. And looked at some roads in District 1 area, and also the work going on North County corridor with it, which is just very impressive with what they're doing out there. A lot of work has already been done, and I think I was told, if I get this number right, 500,000 cubic yards of dirt have already been moved, and there's still a lot more to go. And they're doing a lot of underground work that needs to be done before the roads start going in. So. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Moving on. Legislative Fiscal Management Report.
Good evening. I wanted to follow up. Last week we had some departments providing some presentation information on the federal government shutdown, and there's one particular area that I do want to follow up on. So we're in day 21 of the government shutdown, and so far, our impacts have really been limited to internal delays when we're trying to work with federal agencies and there's nobody on the other end of the phone. So that may be delaying some of the projects and work that we do in coordination with the federal government. We also have an increase, obviously, in phone calls coming in and so forth. And if the shutdown continues, there are certainly a number of potential impacts that we are tracking that would come up in November and December. But there's one that's gotten much more attention over the last couple of days that I do want to focus on, and that is that recently, last week, the federal government did inform all states that the SNAP program, or the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, that funding would be insufficient to provide benefits starting November 1st. So this is the CalFresh program that we refer to as CalFresh here in California that provides monthly stipends for eligible food items. Our latest reports in Stanislaus County show that CalFresh provides food assistance to approximately 93,000 individuals in our community, totaling approximately $17.2 million per month. So yesterday, the governor did issue a press release on this topic to confirm some of the details, impacts here in California. And I can share with you that these benefits are usually loaded into an online system around this time each month in order for them to be effective on the first of the following month. So more specifically, according to the state, if there's no resolution to the shutdown by this Thursday, October 23rd, no funding will be allocated to approximately 93,000 individuals in Stanislaus County that they would have received or had access to on November 1st. You can expect there's going to be a lot of effort and energy to steer many of these families and those impacted to any available resources that we have in our community. But we also know that many of the local food providers are already under pressure to meet ongoing needs in our community. So there's no quick and easy resolution to fill that size of a gap in the community. Also want to recognize there are other unintended impacts. There are other state programs that they run, food assistance programs that are connected in with the SNAP program that may also have some disruptions. We're tracking the California Food Assistance Program. We have about 450 residents of our community that receive about $85,000 a month in total in that program. They may also be disrupted. Even though it's a state program, it's inherently tied in, and it's difficult for the state to disconnect the two. So that is the most significant impact and update since we provided our last update to you. On another note, I want to recognize that the governor has completed all of the actions required at the end of this last legislative session. And we have a meeting coming up with our state legislative advocates to go through all of the bills in detail and those that have impacted us most specifically. In total, 794 bills were signed and 123 were vetoed in this particular legislative session. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions for Jody? Seeing none. Deputy Molina, Sergeant Behringer, thank you guys for your overwatch. Appreciate it. And we'll be adjourned.